Hello again, my name's Daniel. This is my channel, Guilty Feet. I've got no rhythm. And today back with another Friday Reads, a review of my week in books. Something I thought was a great read. I saw another great thing in the Guardian. Maybe I pick a lot of things that I read in the Guardian. But there was an interview with a chap called Mick Herron. If you're familiar, he's written what I think is the currently best series of spy novels out there. He's an English writer. I think he's based in Oxford. He's got a series of books based around something called Slough House. Slough House is where British secret agents are sent out to pasture because they screwed up in some terrible way, but they are kind of not important enough to be murdered, but know too much to be fired. So they are given meaningless jobs and all sent to this same rundown house in London called Slough House. The first one was called Slow Horses because the people that get sent to Slough House are collectively known as the Slow Horses. And it's been a series of properly exciting spy novels with a undeniably pure sense of humour running through. The man ostensibly in charge of Slough House is a guy called Jackson Lamb, so they're sometimes known as the Slough House novels or the Jackson Lamb series. They're about to be filmed, or they've been filmed, and they're about to be released, I think, on Apple TV with Gary Oldman, miscast in my opinion, having not seen the series yet, as Jackson Lamb, but I'll be interested to see how that plays out. Anyway, the point is there's an interview with the author of these books, Mick Herron, in The Guardian. I will link to the interview below. It's a terrific interview and he comes across really engagingly. He has no interest in social media. I don't think he has a smartphone, whatever it is. He's one of those, but just sort of really down to earth. The books weren't a success the first time around. They took a long, slow build where he's having to work full time, and then only, I think, 10 years after the first one was published was he able to give up work and write full time. So he's super fun, engaging. And after that, I got linked to something, and I signed up Blackwell's to coincide with the launch of the next book in the series, which is actually called Slough House. So the first book was called Slow Horses, and then there's Dead Lions and Spook Street and Joe Country, and I'm forgetting some of the others. There have been a couple of novellas as well, originally either only available as ebooks but have since been released as sort of very slim volumes. The latest one is actually called Slough House, and it's coming out in hardback in February, and Blackwell's is running a live Zoom event with Mick Herron, and the tickets to the Zoom event, it's in February the 2nd, I think. I'll put a link to that below as well. Tickets to the event are £5, but if you wanted a signed hardback copy of the book, then you could pay £16, and I made a cheeky lockdown purchase despite the fact that I've got all the earlier books in paperback. I'm now getting the hardback signed by Mick Herron, and we'll be attending an hour-long Zoom meeting where I hear him talk about it, so that should be super fun. If you're interested, the book is only being delivered to UK addresses, so you can sign up and attend the Zoom, I'm guessing from all around the world, but they will only send copies of the book to UK addresses, so I'm having mine sent to my mum's, and that was my unnecessary hardback full price Zoom purchase of the week. In reading wise, had a nice week. I mentioned last week Spade and Archer, so I finished that. Joe Gore's. This is that prequel to Maltese Falcon. We follow Sam Spade. Really, it's more about Spade than Archer, for good reason. Sam Spade over 3 time periods. So we start at the very beginning of Spade's career as a private detective, and we end, the last page of this are the big opening of the Maltese Falcon. So neatly done. Spade's a bit of a badass. Compromised, not perfect, as the best of the noir knights with a K were. Good fun, good stuff, and a very easy read. After that, I read Two Jews on a Train by Adam Biro. As the name suggests, I think born in Hungary, but moved to France. This is translated from the French by Catherine Dehagny. And this is, what is this? Two Jews on a Train, I guess, is the opening line of a joke, in the way that an Englishman, an Irishman, and a Scotsman is the opening line of a joke. And Two Jews on a Train is a series of jokes, is a little bit reductive. They are sort of, each one is a vignette, a shaggy dog story, many of which start with two Jews met on a train. They are the Jews are Eastern European, often, or certainly European, Middle European. The stories go back to the early 19th century all the way up to modern times. It is clear that the idea of Jews being on a train is not just the start of a joke, but in Europe in the 20th century has underlying meanings as well, and the Holocaust is often lingers somewhere in the back of this book. If not the Holocaust, then earlier persecution of European Jews. So tinged with melancholy, Jewish melancholy, which is peculiar among melancholies for always having a bit of a sense of humour. So kind of wonderful. Some of the jokes, like when you get to the punchline, you may actually know the joke already, and it's not really the point. Like all train journeys, the point is the journey rather than the destination. When these Jews meet each other on the train, it's not really important where the train is going. What's important is that they've met and they have a story to tell, and sometimes competing stories. Fun. I got this book. I took this from my dad, my dad's collection. So after he died, I went and took some of his books, and I have a memory, but it could be a false one, of this being on his bedside table at some point. But I don't know if that's true. But it's a kind of book he might have picked up. He would often, if he was out and he saw a book in the wild that it was something related to Jews or Judaism, he would not like to leave it there unattended. So he would often pick those up and bring them home. And this was somewhere on his shelf, and I picked it up. So I've had this sitting here, I guess that means for at least 6 years. And it was good, and it was funny, and it was my dad's, Zichrono Livracha. After that, I read Asterios Polyp, which is probably deserves the title of a graphic novel, because it is a novel that is written in pictures, not a series of comic books, actually conceived and written as a graphic novel. It's by David Mazzucchelli, who I know, familiar with the name because he was an artist on some Daredevil comics that I have, and famously was the artist, I think, on Frank Miller's Year One, Batman Year One. Probably the most famous for that. And this is an entire work that he has written and drawn. I came to this before I joined BookTube making videos. I was watching BookTube, and this was a graphic novel that was recommended by Greg at Supposedly Fun, and I'm always interested to see the graphic novels that people who don't read a lot of graphic novels recommend, and so I picked this up. I was in London last August, and I ordered this, got this on eBay for £5.50, and it has a cover price of $30, so that was a nice pickup. It was easy to find on eBay, not in perfect condition, but I certainly had never been read as far as I can tell. So that was a nice find. It's a very interesting work. Asterios Polyp is our hero. This is him here. He is a man of where things come in twos for Asterios. He is often known by his nickname Stereo, and he is a man of art, of culture, of refinement. He's what they call a paper architect, which means that he designs buildings which have never been built. So he's an academic, and that's part of who he is. Somebody who things never actually get finished, but he knows a lot about things. He's seen throughout the book, almost in every single panel, in profile. So you only ever see him from one side with one eye. His head is almost entirely symmetrical. This is by design. The story is narrated by his dead twin, and the duality of nature, the duality of life, duality of mankind is very much at the heart of this, as is the legend of Orpheus, and his trip to the underworld is also part of this, and Asterios' relationship with his wife, their divorce, and his life after the divorce. It's a serious piece of work. It's beautifully written. very light colouring, where the different colours represent different, whether it's a current story or a memory or a dream sequence. There are different art styles and different colour schemes for each, and it is quite gorgeous work that it requires a little more mental engagement than most graphic novels that I've read, certainly in most comic books. I did some digging around afterwards to what does it all mean, and there's a lot of academic work has been done. This book came out in 2009, and theses have been written about Asterios Polyp and what he represents, and the Orpheus myth, and even the ending of this book, which a lot of people seem to have read in a different way than I read. I love reading comic books, and I love reading graphic novels, and I read them like I read other books. I tend not to go back over them. I think this is a graphic novel which will reward revisiting for the art, which is something, despite the fact that I read a lot of comic books and like them, I'm not a massive art chaser. I buy graphic novels usually because of the author, the writing. And this is something the art is worth revisiting because it is glorious and deliberate. And as I say, while we see Asterios in profile, only one side of him, at almost all times, there are, I found so far, 2 panels where you see him head on both his eyes at the same time, and there is significance to that, and I'm enjoying wrestling with what that significance is. This was a serious graphic novel, which is an unusual departure for me, but a great recommendation. Thank you, Greg, for that, and I enjoyed that, and I will take this down from time to time and just have a look and probably do a bit more internet digging to hear what academics have thought of this. And then after that I started Waking Lions by Ayelet Gundar Goshen. Despite having lived here for 25 years, I don't read a lot of Israeli literature. I don't read in Hebrew. So if I do read Israeli authors, I have to wait till they're translated. So, frustratingly, in the Israeli newspapers, a book might be published, and I will only get to read it 2 or 3 years later when it shows up, unless it's a big author like David Grossman, who is usually translated fairly soon or simultaneously with a Hebrew language release. So, in an effort to try and read more local authors, I picked this up. I bought this on eBay in the UK. For a penny plus postage, so it cost me £2.81, and its cover price £8.99. This is translated by Sondra Silverstone, originally published in Hebrew as L'Ha'ir Arayot, to Waking Lions it's called. I'm only 20 pages in so far, and I'm not quite sure yet whether it's going to be a thriller or a morality tale or a mixture of both, but I'm looking forward to reading more of this. And that is my week. Thanks very much. Have a great weekend. Take care. Bye.